Hello there. At the lunch class today, somebody was asking me about how to get a balance between doing what one wants to do oneself and thinking of other people. I thought it was a very interesting question, so I thought I'd say a little bit more about it. Yes, I'm reminded of what the Dalai Lama once said, which was that he was very surprised that people in the West seem to have such a low opinion of themselves. And he didn't think that that applied to people that he'd known in Tibet. You know, there was much more confidence in oneself. So that's interesting in itself, isn't it? I think we have a strong work ethic here and a strong sense that we don't want to be selfish. We don't want to be seen to just be doing things that we want to do or things that we like to do. And of course, when we learn the Metta Bhavana, we find that what we're taught first is metta for ourselves. And that shows us that it's really important that if unless we've got a good self view, a healthy self view of ourselves, we're not really going to have a spare capacity for anybody else. So that's really important. Have we got warmth and tenderness and appreciation for ourselves? And although it's good to have humility and to be able to turn towards what's perhaps more unskillful in ourselves, before we get to that, we really need to know also what is skillful about ourselves, what's wonderful about ourselves. So we're all very unique and we all have got very positive qualities. And it's really important to remember that. So, when we start doing the Metta Bhavana, we can often find that our self-view isn't quite what we think it was. Maybe we've taken it for granted. Yeah, I think, I feel all right about myself. But it needs much more than that. Because if we're going to practice Buddhism, we need to have confidence in our potential. And our potential, of course, is Buddhahood. That is our potential. You could say there is a seed in us that will grow into Buddhahood, or to put it even another way, a stronger way, Buddhahood is already there and just needs to be uncovered and revealed. So we know that it does have veils over it. We're not Buddhas at the moment, and perhaps we're quite a long way from being Buddhas. But coming back to this idea of ourself or other, yes, I think there's several things that are very relevant here. So one is to recognise that often we feel like we're not really doing what we want to do in our lives, that maybe we feel burdened by other people's demands. I think that's particularly the case if we're a parent and we've got young children or even older children, because actually as a parent you're giving all the time. And you have to, for a long time, put your own needs and wants aside in order to be perhaps a good parent. But that can get to an extreme where you put them before yourself in every way and you haven't learnt boundaries. Anyway, at the lunch class, I was likening it to a program that's one of a favourite of mine. I'm not always watching television, but actually I do love dogs behaving very badly. And what I love about it is that Graham Hall, who is this dog whisperer, you could say, he just sorts out any problems. And of course, the problem is not the dog, it's always the owner. And that is because very often people have not trained their dogs, or they have let the dog be pack leader rather than themselves, or they've spoilt the dog. And often they haven't given them clear instructions and stuck to those instructions. And it's exactly the same with training children, and actually training ourselves as well. But if you are a parent and you're giving mixed messages, so for example, if a child whines enough, you'll give in. You've said no, 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 and then suddenly it's yes. Well, if that happens, then naturally the child will learn quickly that if it just continues whining, the answer will be yes eventually. It'll just encourage it to keep going. So it's quite interesting to think about how we make life difficult for ourselves by giving in and not having boundaries. Not saying, no, this is my time. This is my time when I meditate or do whatever I'm doing or listen to some music, and kind of claiming some space for oneself. So I think that's very important to do, because when we feel overwhelmed, particularly when we feel overwhelmed by other people, I think we need to look within us at what negative states of mind are arising that are causing that, because it's very easy to blame others. If only they would do this, if only they do what we want them to do, or if only they wouldn't do certain things, my life would be better. But actually, what we need to do is look at, okay, when I feel drained or, overcome by other people's needs, what am I not being faithful to in myself, for myself? So mostly, I don't think that mostly we're terribly selfish beings. I think it's a matter of getting a balance so that we don't always feel overwhelmed by other people's demands. And when we do, it's often because we haven't spoken up, perhaps. We've been fearful. We want to be liked rather than disliked. We don't want to be criticised. And so we can end up living our life according to others, according to other people's wants. And it might sound selfish that we might decide to do something else, that actually we're going to claim some time for ourselves. But we need time for awareness. We need time to really know who we are. And if we're just caught up all the time in what everybody else wants, we'll never even know who we are. We'll never have space to discover that. So I think it's very important. And I'm saying all this, and of course it's in the context of the Bodhisattva aim to rescue all beings from samsara. But we can only do that if we do it skillfully. So if we're recognising that we're overwrought and that we're tired and that we're feeling drained by other people, then that's telling us something that we do need to respond to. It's no good keeping going or thinking we should be willing to be at the service of others. If we don't do it with a good heart, if we don't do it with loving kindness, then actually it's not worth doing. It would be better to be seen as selfish. So we need boundaries. We need very clear boundaries with ourselves and others. So let's say, for an example, there's somebody that rings you up a lot and they spend a lot of time on the phone and you resent it. Well, wouldn't it be much better to say to that person, I haven't always got time to talk to you. I'd really like to talk to you, but I haven't always got time to do that. So I'd appreciate when you ring up if you ask me if I've got time to talk. And then I could tell you that, I've got 10 minutes or 15 minutes to talk. And then we'll both be happy. So, saying something like that, wow, it's just clear, isn't it? It's not horrible, it's not being mean, it's just saying what you need. And if you don't, the chances are you're going to be on the phone with resentment, thinking, when are they going to get off the phone? So that's just one small example. If we can be honest, if we can have straightforward communication, then actually it's so much better, because people will understand where we are and what our needs are, and mostly they'll be very responsive. People won't mind us asking that. So, that's just a few tips on, well, it's more about looking after ourselves than looking after other people. But I think that has definitely got to come first. Otherwise, we will live our lives resentful, feeling stressed and feeling tired, and we don't need to do that. Okay, that's enough for today. Bye.